right here on Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh with you. We are live on SportsGrid on a Tuesday night, and we tip, as does a pair of brand new conference tournaments, the Patriot League and the Sun Belt, getting underway. We've got, I believe, Coastal and UL Monroe in the Sun Belt, and then there's Army and Holy Cross in the Patriot League. We also bring the Horizon into the fold later at 7 o'clock, as well as the A-Sun tournament with their second round of action today. March is certainly here. We are not far away. On Thursday, we get day basketball. If by chance you could still get these in, because I know some of these are closing up at 6 o'clock, I do have an outright pick in both the Sun Belt and the Horizon. In the Sun Belt, I'm taking the favorite, James Madison, at plus 135. In the Horizon, I'm on the 1 seed Oakland, who has the third best odds, at plus 300. We will expand on those as time goes. The college hoops futures market is absolutely buzzing, and I'm glad you're with us here on Game Time Decisions. We start today's show, though, with some NFL news. We know that the franchise tags were going to be coming down, and last year, Saquon Barkley was tagged by the Giants. This year, no tag, and he will be a free agent. And you see there the tweet from Ian Rappaport. I think the back end of that is very important. A very good RB class. Tough enough for the stars at this position to feel like they are being paid adequately. Today, Michael Pittman Jr. was franchise tagged by the Indianapolis Colts for over $20 million this upcoming season. I think they'll ultimately work out a contract extension. No running back will be getting $20 million, and any will really be lucky to get half of that number. Our radio audiences here on Sirius XM, Channel 159, all across the SportsGrid network. It is a Tuesday night. It is Game Time Decisions, and it is Kevin Walsh with you here. On Saquon, some folks think the Houston Texans could be in the fold. The Baltimore Ravens often look at the running back position. Do the Denver Broncos have anybody left? If so, I could see Sean Payton being interested in the NFC North as well. We will talk a little bit more about NFL free agency and who's in and who's out in hour number 2. But let's open this up and put eyes on tonight's slate. College basketball is the apple of everyone's eye right now, and rightfully so, because it is not just conference tournament action, but it is one of the biggest games of the Big Ten season, perhaps the biggest that sees the number 3 team in college basketball, a heavily projected top seed in the NCAA tournament, the Purdue Boilermakers, booked as an underdog against the Fighting Illini, catching now as many as, I believe, 2.5 points. This Illinois team has been impressive, but beating Purdue would put them in another step and could see some of their future prices really be shifted. A win for Purdue could really help their case in becoming the number 1 overall seed, which I know in the most updated bracketology from Joe Lunardi of ESPN, he already had Purdue listed at. So this will shift things a bit in that way. In the SEC, Auburn in action, but this Bama-Florida game will be catching a lot of people's attention. This would have been ranked if Florida did not lose at South Carolina over the weekend. Instead, they fall out of the top 25. The Crimson Tide to come back a touch as well after their loss to the Tennessee Volunteers. Bama home for that game on the road here, catching just about 1 to 2 points in this game from the Gators. Big time total, $176.5, which I believe is even up a little bit from when these teams met just a couple of weeks ago. We'll dive into this college board here. A couple of picks, a couple of spots for us to work with. Let's pull up the NBA slate. It looks great on paper, but there are some, as always, key absences whenever you get there. It begins in Cleveland. The Cavs catching 8.5 points from what is right now not just the best team in the league, but the hottest team in the league, the Boston Celtics. The Cavs without Donovan Mitchell and Max Strus, part of the reason they're catching as many as they are at home. The Knicks still without Jalen Brunson, but booked as a favorite over the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks have lost 2 in a row, actually in New York. Those 2 games were at Brooklyn. The Nets have flipped to a slight favorite over the Sixers. No Tyrese Maxey tonight. Unfortunately, some concussion-like symptoms after a hard fall in a win over the weekend against the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas gets to host Indiana. And then out here, we're going to use this game, this Phoenix-Denver game, to jump into a Western Conference conversation quickly here because the Denver Nuggets are an 8.5-point favorite in that game. Devin Booker already listed as out. And that is important on both ends of the spectrum. Firstly, at the top, the Timberwolves right now have a half-game lead on both the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. Now, that half-game lead, okay, if it evaporates and we see Denver get up to the top seed, I've been talking about this, but Denver is not just going to remain the favorite to win the Western Conference. Nikola Jokic will become unbettable in the MVP market. If they are the 1 seed, SGA has no chance to take this off of Denver. On the other end of it, the Phoenix Suns have the hardest schedule remaining in the NBA. And it is only about to get worse. After this Denver game, there's a pair of games against the Celtics. They got to go to Cleveland and play the Cavs. A lot of dog spots for this team. And they might not be healthy, which is putting them up against it. You might say, Kev, didn't you bet an updated win total on Phoenix? I did. It's going to lose. It's what it is, all right? They couldn't afford to drop home games to the Rockets and then lose their best player in Devin Booker. And this team could find themselves not just slipping into the play-in, because right now they're one spot out of it, slipping down to this 9-10. If you look right now, there are 5 teams in the West over their last 10 games that are 7-3. Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Denver, Lakers, and Warriors. That's who it is. Golden State and LA are both playing good ball. Lakers just dump-trucked the Thunder last night. Golden State, heesh. That was ugly. That was ugly. They're still playing good basketball overall, despite what the Boston Celtics did to them. We'll expand on the NBA board. Joe Madden will stop by as well to help us with tonight's NHL slate. Boston and Edmonton are going to do it again, which is definitely a big game here overall. We'll see how Chicago bounces back with Connor Bedard, always an interesting team, smashed by the Colorado Avalanche just the other night. You see updated odds there for Russell Wilson's next team, of course, released by the Denver Broncos, or will be released by the Denver Broncos on March 13th. Still seeing the Pittsburgh Steelers booked as a minus 200 favorite to bring in Russell Wilson, but quite frankly, there's been reports out there that the Steelers are not all that interested in Russell Wilson, and I think that makes sense. I don't see why you'd shift off Kenny Pickett for Russ. The math doesn't add up for me. Still a personal 2 favorite landing spots would either be an 8-1 New England Patriots or down here at 20-1 on the Washington Commanders. Russ can sit in front of the 2nd or 3rd overall draft pick, which are soon to be Drake May and Jaden Daniels. By the way, NFL draft market starting to open up a little bit more, getting odds to who will go 4th overall. Heavy favorite from Marvin Harrison Jr. and who will go 5th overall, a plus price at the moment on Notre Dame's left tackle Joe Alt. Go back here to this quick pick for people. Let's get North Carolina on the board. Speaking of Notre Dame, UNC laying 15.5. Don't bet a lot of favorites. I think there's value here on the Tar Heels, and not just on tonight's board, in the futures market as well. If you missed it, bet 2 more teams to make the Final Four. North Carolina at plus 480, and BYU checking in at 14-1. We'll expand on all of this. You made the right decision by being here on Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22. The fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid. All right, we're back with you right here on SportsGrid. It is a Tuesday night. I'm Kevin Walsh with you. Again, we are live right now with college basketball, the Horizon League and the Patriot League. Their conference tournaments beginning, and we have those games on right now. We do have, Coastal going up against UL Monroe, and then again, it is Army and Holy Cross lean Coastal and Army in those games. But let's get to tonight's picks, things that have not started, and I actually am going to start a little off the beaten path for people. And that is with Stetson here in the ASUN. The ASUN tournament began yesterday, and I think Stetson has themselves a really good situational spot. So an upset yesterday. Actually, it was double dogs. Two games in the ASUN, both won outright by what were slight underdogs in Stetson and Jacksonville. Stetson, though, now goes from a neutral site game against Florida Gulf Coast, same gym, but now they're playing the home team in Stetson, and Stetson is laying 5.5 in this game. Queens has 2 road wins all season long. And one of those was at Stetson. And I'm sure that's going to push some people to bet on Queens, not me. I think that this is a spot where Stetson, who is one of the top teams in this conference, the number 2 seed, actually rebounds and gets right in a bit of a revenge angle here. Florida Gulf Coast just laid 3.5, 4.5 to Queens. And again, that was without any home court advantage. This is a legitimate advantage that Stetson has here in this game. I'll take the rest over the rust, and I'm going to lay it there at 5.5. I'm going to also, as I mentioned, lay the 15.5 with North Carolina. A bit of a favorites night for me. UNC has now not covered in 2 consecutive home games, while on the other side, Notre Dame has been a covering machine and have actually won outright in 4 of their last 5 games. And I think we have an opportunity to sell high here on the Fighting Irish. If you take a look, this 15.5 is just 1 more point than what UNC laid to Miami. I know it's been a disastrous season for the Hurricanes, but they are still viewed far better, I think, than the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in the market, and I think rightfully so. The other thing is, we haven't seen UNC in this spot a ton, which is hosting the bad teams in this conference. Of the 5 teams in the ACC that are outside of the top 80 in KenPom, they've only played one of them at home. That was Louisville in a 16-point win. They were actually up 17 at the break, so perhaps maybe you want to play this first half. But I think this is a good spot for North Carolina to roll here. Some people probably thinking look ahead with the Duke game to close out the regular season. I think otherwise. And again, and we'll expand on this a little bit with Coach and a little bit later, but North Carolina and BYU with San Diego State is how I round out my Final 4 card prior to the tournament getting off the ground there. So we'll see how those things expand. The other college basketball spots for me, let me get this Alabama team total, playing it at 87.5. The Crimson Tide against Tennessee were really let down by their offense. And I know you might say, come on, they scored 74. They gave 8. No. Tennessee's team total, I think, went under despite the victory. And I know Alabama's did, and it went under by quite a bit. Give the Vols their credit. But I think it's a bounce-back spot for Alabama. We've seen Alabama bounce back plenty of times this season. The reason, though, that I'm playing the team total here is I have some respect for this Florida team. Florida played Alabama very well at the Crimson Tide's gym, and that 1.5-point number, I know what it says. I know what it means, and I know how this game could play out. But here's the deal. If we actually see this end up an outright win for Florida, that doesn't worry me on this team total. This game could balloon through this number here and have 200 points put up on the board. That was kind of the expectation when these teams first met, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's what we get here. This is just a spot that is a clear bounce back, and also just a step down in competition on the defensive side. No slight to Florida, but Tennessee right now ranks top 5 defense in the country. So I think Alabama here can really get right. You consider when they played Florida, their team total is about 92.5. So to get about 5 points here through the home court swing, I'm going to take my chance on Alabama. And then I'm going to play Zach Edey on a 14.5 rebounds plus assist prop. Zach Edey's been dominant on this number, hitting it in 7 of his last 8. So not the typical bounce back spot that I look for, but he did go under a rebound prop in his last game out, only having 11 against Michigan State. Now the number here tonight is 12.5. Understandably, Illinois plays much faster. They're also, at the moment, over the last 10 games or so, one of the worst major defenses in all of college basketball. So I thought about Edey's points, rebounds, and assists, but he hasn't had the most dominant scoring efforts against top teams in college this season. And I want to focus on this rebound market. If you take a look in losses this year, since Purdue is booked as a dog, he's 2-1 on this number. In a prior game against Illinois, he had 15 rebounds in just 23 minutes. So he would have cleared this on rebounds alone. And that was only because of foul trouble. He actually plays a lot more on the road to make sense. Bigger games, closer games, not as easy to blow teams out. He averages over 13 rebounds a game on the road with nearly 35 minutes played in those games, and the assists are gravy. He's had 2 or more assists in 7 of his last 8 games, so if we get 2, then it's the same as the rebounds prop at less juice. We get 3, we're starting to steal numbers, and again, it wouldn't surprise me if Zach Edey has a 5-assist night here, quite frankly, when you consider the defense that he's going up against here in Illinois. And if you take a look at his last 13 games, he's averaging 15.7 rebounds plus assists per game. So you see there a little 4-pack on the college board. NBA-wise, just 3 spots for me here tonight, all props. Darius Garland over the 9.5 rebounds plus assists. Garland is only 4-4 on this number without Donovan Mitchell this season, but he was 8-2 without Donovan Mitchell last season on this prop, which would put him at 12-6 over the last 2 years. And Garland's assist prop is very well due for a big breakout game. I wouldn't be surprised if he hits this on assists alone. His assist prop tonight, 6.5, is the number he's missed in 3 consecutive. He had gone over that in 8 straight games. 8 consecutive, okay, before this 3-game slide. And that's why I think there's a good chance that you can get 7+ assists. And as far as the rebounds go, if you want to isolate that number, while he is only 4-4 on the rebounds plus assist number, a 2.5 rebound prop, he's 6-2 on without Donovan Mitchell this season. So I think the stat line tonight, maybe 10-4 for Darius Garland. We play over the 9.5 rebounds plus assists. Let's get Buddy Hield over 19.5 points plus assists. As I mentioned, no Tyrese Maxey. When Buddy Hield first got to Philadelphia, he hit the ground running, and this was the prop range that we saw for Buddy Hield with Tyrese Maxey in the lineup. Now, I know things have changed, right? We're starting to see a little bit more Kelly Oubre, and, Maxey's, I think, been starting to have some bigger games. I get it. But now we're back to Buddy Hield getting a big workload. And Buddy's actually played a game without Tyrese Maxey in the lineup. He took 21 shots in that game. 21. He had 20 points and 6 assists. He played 40 minutes in that game. Buddy Hield has 57 career games with 20 or more field goal attempts. He averages 25.7 points per game in those games. So realistically here, this is a 19.5 number. I think you can hit it on points alone, and the assist should be gravy. He has 4 more assists in every single game he's played as a Sixer, but 1. So this spot here tonight for Buddy Hield, I think you could legitimately see 25-5 from Buddy Hield here against the Brooklyn Nets. Same market, different player, a more expensive ask, but one that I'm very okay with, and that's Kevin Durant over 32.5 points plus assists. He is 9-2 on this prop when when Devin Booker is out. Let's investigate those 2 losses. Last game against Oklahoma City, and another spot where he landed 32. So that means prior to the game against OKC, he was 9-1 on this number when Devin Booker was out, with the one loss coming at 32. Now we're at 9-2. It's a clear bounce back spot here on the road, step up style against the team that eliminated Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns in the Denver Nuggets, and also a bounce back spot where he only scored 20 points against the Oklahoma City Thunder and was 6-15. Bradley Beal and Yusuf Nurkic were incredible. A better effort from KD, and Phoenix feels good about themselves stealing that game from the Thunder. They didn't, and a lot of that had to do with him. So now he steps up here tonight and gets us over the 32.5 points plus assists. Let's re-rack and run back quick. Over 32.5 points plus assists for KD, 19.5 points plus assists for Buddy Hield, and Darius Garland, rebounds plus assists, 9.5. College basketball, rebounds plus assists for Zach Edey checks in at 14.5. We're going to lay the 15 with North Carolina. We're going to lay the 5 with Stenson, and we're going to go over the 87.5 Alabama team total in their matchup with the Florida Gators. College basketball futures, we've talked about it a little bit here, but the Horizon League has not started yet. Oakland, plus 300. We will break that down a little bit more, but the number 1 seed in the Horizon is actually booked as the 3rd team. I think that's a little off the beaten path there. I think we've got some value with the Golden Grizzlies. Coach James Young is up next. It's Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Welcome back. It's Game Time Decisions. We are with you on SportsGrid. We are live with some college basketball. We've got the right guy to help us break it down. That would be Coach James Young. JY, how we doing? Conference tournaments absolutely underway.
Yes, it is time, K-Dub. And these are the ones that matter the most because these are truly like one and done. You lose, you're not getting a bid. I mean, there's some exceptions, but this is when it's really becomes exciting now because team seasons can end at any point.
They absolutely can, JY. And I'd love to just get this from you quickly, and then we'll rip through the picks. But can you just tell people a little bit about the setting and how teams have to adapt when playing in these conference tournaments? And especially because, again, with Monmouth, it was the same situation. It was a one and done. The pressure, the atmosphere. There's a situation, a few of them, right, today, where a team played yesterday and a team's playing their first game of this tournament today. The advantage is there and just the mindset going into these.
Yeah, first things first, I want people to understand this, especially when you talk about, Kevin and I know, big knowledge of this, the MAC tournament in Atlantic City. These events that play in neutral arenas tend to be bigger, which means backdrop, which means teams often struggle first game of the tournament. So when you look at like the MAC tournament in Atlantic City, I think Kevin and I talked about this last year, like the unders are what you may want to look at in the first game because of the backdrop. The fact that you got to remember, like at the MAC tournament, we weren't even, Kevin, allowed to practice at Boardwalk Hall. We had to go to I had to call a friend and get some high school gym to go play. And then if you have that second game, you get 20 minutes to warm up. So there's no way, Kevin, within 20 minutes, you go for playing in like Little Iona's gym, right, or Marist or whatever, and now you got to go play at Boardwalk Hall where the backboard and the stage is like 90 to 100 feet behind you. So there are ways that you can kind of cash in, especially when you look at over-unders. If teams that play in small gyms now move to bigger venues. Doesn't matter much, Kevin, in the high major ones, but the low to mid-major ones, pay attention to where the team plays it normally and where it's a conference tournament. You may be able to make some money off of taking unders.
All right, Joey, let's get to it then. We have got a ranked South Florida team laying 7.5 to Tulane. By the way, I got to bring this up quickly. JY and I had a head-to-head over the weekend in a UAB Memphis game. And at halftime, UAB was up 15. Mm-hmm. They lost by 20. I don't know what's going on to the American these days, JY. And to kind of emphasize that, South Florida is 15-1 in this conference somehow. What do you think about their matchup with Tulane?
So this doesn't make sense. Tulane is, I think, 1-6 against the spread their last 7 games, right? They've lost all of them. South Florida, folks, is on at least 10 in a row. They're 9-1 against the spread, and they're only a 7.5 point favorite. Maybe it's a funky line of the night. I love South Florida. I think and Kevin and I have talked about this. They still have work to do, folks. Even with that record, even being top 25, they're not set to make the NCAA tournament because you have to think about other teams in that league that are behind them with better wins out of the league. South Florida, -7.5 at home versus Tulane.
All right, there you go. JY rocking there with the Bulls. We'll see. 15-1, man. Just what a Memphis and FAU and just expectations. It's been a wild year. JY, let's get to the SEC here with Ole Miss in action tonight. SEC, or Ole Miss, I should say, was a team that started out so hot, but a lot of people knew it was a little too good to be true. Now, though, this team is going to need to probably win the SEC tournament. I don't see Ole Miss really having a pathway there, but look, if they're playing for pride, they're going up against Georgia tonight on the road. What value do you see in this game?
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Ole Miss plus the points. I know it seems really tricky. An Ole Miss team that's not been good against the spread, 1-5 against the spread their last 6 games versus a Georgia team that is, I do believe, I think 0-5 against the spread their last 5 home games. Now, here's where Kevin is right. They got work to do, a lot of work. I think they have, only one quad 1 win, but they have something crazy like only one quad 2, 3, 4 loss. So it's like they beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and they lose to the better teams. Well, here's a team they're better than. I'm going to go and I'm going to take the 1.5. Give me Ole Miss. They need it. Kevin's right. They probably need to win out. And at least I would say if they win 2 games in the SEC tournament, maybe they have a chance to get in. They got to win tonight. Give me Ole Miss plus the 1.5 or 2.5.
Right now on bracket matrix, Ole Miss is in just 2 out of a possible 104 brackets.
Yep. They need a lot of help. It's a quad 1s.
Yeah, yes, they certainly do. All right, Coach, let's talk a little Big East hoop here as we got a couple of interesting spots on this board. But the 2 worst teams in the conference are in action. That's Georgetown and DePaul, not playing one another. Providence goes to Georgetown. What do you think about the Hoyas and their home court lack of advantage?
People like, Ed Cooley, bounce back game. Ed Cooley, revenge game. Ed Cooley ain't winning this damn game tonight. That team is so bad, and he'll get it right. But Kim English, they're kind of falling off the cliff themselves, Kevin. I don't even know if no one has them in right now, especially after losing that game to Villanova. So they also have work to do with the Big East tournament. This is a big spot for them. I like what Kim English has done, especially defensively. Give me Providence minus the points on the road, minus 8.5.
All right, Joe, and then what about the Johnnies here going to DePaul, laying a wildly big number, 19.5?
Wildly big number against a wildly bad team. Folks, if you thought Georgetown was bad, you haven't seen DePaul play because they look like the Globetrotters next to the Washington Generals, if you kids know where I'm going with that. So to me, as much as I can't stand Slick Rick, Kevin, they are playing better basketball. They've covered 2 straight. It's 19.5. And according to Joe Lenardi, they are the first team out. They need to win big and then do something in the Big East tournament. And then they are going to be watching tomorrow night Villanova versus Seton Hall. That is a big matchup tomorrow that deals with St. John's because some people have them as in that last 4 in. So those 3 teams, I think, Kevin, are probably jockeying for 2 spots in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, for St. John's, win against DePaul is going to do nothing. Lose this game, you might as well not even play in the Big East tournament. And look, they followed this up by playing Georgetown. Again, these 2 wins, it's going to beef it up. They're going to get 19-12. They win a game in the Big East tournament. All of a sudden, they're a 20-win basketball team. There's opportunities here for the Johnnies, but JY is right. These aren't the most style points that are up for grabs. It's just enough style points up for grabs. Coach, the big one is Purdue and Illinois, 12 versus 3. The Boilermakers are a dog in this game. What do you like here with this Big Ten battle?
I'm going to do something that I don't do a lot, folks. I'm going to go team total. And I'm going to go over the team total. I think it's 81.5 for Purdue. Why? Folks, do you want me to read off what Illinois is giving up lately? Don't worry, folks. I'll do it for you. 83 versus Wisconsin, 97 versus Minnesota, 85 versus Iowa, 90 at Penn State. Maryland's terrible, 80. Throw out the Michigan game, 80 to Michigan State. And you think they're going to hold this team to under 81.5 points with the no defense they're playing? Give me Purdue. I don't know if they win. I think this will not be a rock fight, folks. Give me Purdue, team total, over 81.5 points.
I will say, and by no stretch am I going against JY's pick here. Okay, promise you that. I took an Illinois, Wisconsin under. At some point, Illinois has to show me that they can play defense again. They win this game tonight 100-90. Good for them. Don't care. They can't guard. They cannot guard. We talk about this. It's incredible that Alabama, right, is what Alabama's offense smoked Illinois. Alabama put up a $125 on this team, okay? See, these are the things that drive me crazy. But Illinois gets to play the rest of this garbage Big Ten Conference, this Maryland offense, this Indiana offense, this Rutgers offense, right?
Illinois are pretty well balanced. No, they're not well balanced. They stink. They're bad. But I don't trust the Boilermakers. I don't put money on that team. No, I don't care. What month is it? I'm not betting on Purdue. That's not the point, okay? But when we're trying to figure out who we're fading, Coach, when these brackets get unveiled, right? And Illinois is in a 3 versus 14, and the opponent team total 76.5. You're like, what's going on? Why does a 14 seed have a team total? That's because this Illinois team can't guard. Not a lick.
No, they can't guard a lick. It's amazing because if you think about Brad Underwood, he's a Huggy Bear disciple, right? Even when he was at Stephen F. Austin, they defended Kevin. Like, this is kind of crazy. And this has been going on, folks, for the better part of what, Kevin? The last month, they've not guarded anyone. And here's the thing.
Yep.
Y'all know this. I hate Purdue. I had to wrestle with demons to even do this pick. But they don't play no damn defense. So I'm taking a chance. 81.5 points.
Russell with demons got me. I'm not going to lie to you. Russell with demons got me.
Anything with wrestling,
this guy's, there he goes. This guy's the Undertaker. What do you say, folks? We'll do a little NBA for you. Quick break of Game Time Decisions. We'll be right back.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22. The fact. Man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Back with you right here. It's Game Time Decisions. I got to tell you, I'm tempted. We have Coach James Young with us here still to stick with some of the college basketball and maybe talk a little bit about some one seeds. But I want to make sure we get the NBA picks on the board, and we got a little bit of time tonight. So let's make sure we hit this NBA for the people, JY. And you bet something I was looking at, but ultimately I couldn't pull the trigger on, and that's the Knicks tonight. I wanted to bet them against Atlanta. Atlanta, had that little hot mini run without Trey, and they had their card pulled by Brooklyn in back-to-back games. No Brunson tonight, so the Knicks are a minus 1.5 point favorite. You're going to still trust them. Tell the people why.
I think the Knicks, they need it. I mean, I think the standings have kind of lined themselves up that they have to keep winning here in order to try and stay out of that play-in scenario. So to me, an Atlanta team that I just don't believe in, you're right. They had that mini run where they played well. And, folks, they just lost back-to-back games to the Brooklyn Nets by almost 30 and by 12 against a Brooklyn Nets team that just turned around last night and lost to Memphis. That's all I need to hear. And it's the last game of a road trip. And they've been in New York City for like 5 days? Good luck. Give me the Knicks on the money line tonight.
Look, I will say, as far as the Knicks go, I think that win up against the Cavs was obviously a great bit of momentum there. That's not even one where it was all game plan, right? They hit some shots. The Cavs aren't fully healthy, but still the Cavs were 5-point favorite, I think, when Brunson was expected to play. So the fact they were able to get that game when Brunson got injured and it was impressive. We'll see if they can follow it up. JY, you mentioned the Brooklyn Nets. They are flipping back to a slight home dog. This game is pretty much money line here with the Philadelphia 76ers. What are you looking for in this game tonight?
All right, so I understand no Maxey, right? It was announced earlier today, Maxey's out for the game tonight, right? But Cam Thomas is out, Ben Simmons is out, and the Nets just last night played and they lost to a really bad Memphis team. And now you're going to expect them to go and next night play better against Philadelphia? Like, I know this is the game where Philadelphia is going to have to just go get it and grind it out. And I just think they're the better team. Brooklyn has nothing to play for. They look like they're hot trash. So I'm just going to take the Sixers on the money line. Depending on, I have it at +1. It could be -1, money line, whatever. Yeah. Sixers are winning the game tonight.
Yeah, you've got them winning the game. There was a clip last night. It's going around a little bit, JY, of Kevin Ollie looking to break the huddle. Mikal Bridges just walks away. Cam Johnson looks a little surprised by it. And I know sometimes when people see this and, he's making something out of nothing.
There's something.
I think Mikal Bridges might be losing his mind a little.
It's something.
I think that 26 points per game, JY, and I'll get your take on it. I think that maybe went to his head a little bit last year. Mikal Bridges is a nice player. Mikal Bridges is a top 50 player in this league. Mikal Bridges had a moment last year. People thought, could he be the best guy in a title team? Now, the answer to that was always no. Could he be the second best guy in a title team? Maybe, right? He's completely reverted back to probably the third best guy on a title team, but he's now running around like a super megastar franchise player, and in all the worst ways it appears, right? Soon as Jock Vaughn gets fired, we're hearing leaks about, Mikal Bridges turned on him. Bridges now, it looks like giving the cold shoulder to Jock Vaughn, and I don't want to open this up, so I'm going to say it for you, and then, JY, I just want your thoughts on Bridges and Ali. But it looks like another disaster out of Sean Marks, who was offered up a gazillion first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, turned it down, and then this offseason will probably not even be getting, near the value that he once was. But what do you think of what's going on in Brooklyn, JY, outside of Sean Marks, because you've made your feelings on that very clear?
I think the biggest issue that Bridges has is, honestly, I hate to say it, and I'm not putting it that he's going to end up there. His three best friends from college are playing in the other borough, and they're just playing really well. And I think it bothers him, because I've seen games like when Villanova played St. John's, they were all together sitting, hanging out. It must bother Bridges, because he went to Brooklyn. He thought he was going to be the man, And they, remember, folks, he did play well. And he did absolutely play well, right? I'm not going to knock him. And then he turned around, and in the postseason, they got absolutely rolled. But he did score 23.5 points per game. I think it got a little bit to Bridges' head. I don't think this Nets team is very good. I think they have a lot of problems. And we know what we need to do with Sean Marks. They better hope the Koch brothers buy out Joe Tsai, just so they can just implode the whole thing. But Bridges is starting to become an issue. There's only one diva that may be bigger than Bridges right now in the Eastern Conference, and his name is Giannis. But the difference is his team right now is winning.
Oh, little Giannis shot from the clouds. That's got good momentum right now. Let's not mess it up. Talk to me about the Boston Celtics. Their game with the Cavs tonight. You got a side pick and a prop pick here. What are you on, JY?
I can't get in front of the Celtics. You know, as much as you're like, all right, here it comes. You know, here comes the stinker. Here's when they're going to play a bad game. This is when we're not going to play well. And then, of course, no Strus, no Donovan Mitchell. Line is 8.5. Some places 9.5. I'm going to go to the Boston Celtics minus the points. And because of what I saw, Jared Allen now has a 30.5 PRA. Now, here is my thought. This is solely because of what? Other guys are out, especially Donovan Mitchell. So everybody's stuff gets inflated. So I look to the guy of who is the most inflated out of the whole bunch. To me, it's Jared Allen. I don't think he gets it done tonight against a team that he has gone under, I think, in 6 straight games. I think that if it's Boston, and here's the other reason why. He's got to guard Porzingis, Horford. What do they have in common? They go outside. They shoot threes. They're going to take rebounds away from Jared Allen. I like Jared Allen to go under 30.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
All right, and then JY, you're closing out the card here because there's a couple of big picture things we can get to. With some action in this game between the Mavs and the Pacers, what are you looking for?
This is a sneaky big game for Indiana, a team that's lost 2 straight games, which now is, I think, 2 games out of the loss column for the 6th seed. So they got to get going. I don't know if they win this game tonight. They probably don't. But if they're going to be anywhere close, Tyrese Halliburton has to be a hell of a lot better than he's been. I didn't want to go points. I went rebounds plus assists at 14.5. Kevin, I could see a case where Halliburton could get 12, 13 assists by himself tonight because of the pace of the way that this game is going to play. It's going to go up and down. I like Tyrese Halliburton over 14.5 rebounds plus assists. He has hit this in, I think, 5 out of his last 9 games, missed the last 2 versus Dallas. He gets going tonight.
I will say, and this is going to be the case for a little bit, I wish I didn't bet Halliburton's PRA the night he scored 0, because it is all I think about now when I see him. And, of course, my reaction to that has to be somewhat influenced by the bet. But usually bets hurt worse when they're close, and that obviously was never close. I just can't get over one of the 25 best players in the league scoring 0, and it's going to stick with me for a while, and that is just where I'm at on the moment with Tyrese, and it is probably a bit silly, but I'm being honest with the people. JY, one game we didn't get to tonight, and that's Denver-Phoenix, and that's fine. Denver is a comfortable favorite in this game. You and I talked Saturday. You mentioned how dangerous Phoenix could be up or down. And immediately we saw the down end of it. This team at the moment is still 9-1 to win the West. In front of the number 1 seed Minnesota Timberwolves. Not all that far back from the number 2 seed Oklahoma City Thunder. Comfortably in front of the Dallas Mavericks, the LA Lakers, the Pelicans who are in front of them. The Warriors, the Kings are back there at 33-1.
Oh, the Kings.
What do you make of the Phoenix Suns still getting... Okay, just listen to teams, JY. What do you make of the Phoenix Suns? I think still getting respect here in the market despite the schedules and the injury.
No, they're still getting respect, and you could say they should. Now, listen, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just so disgusted by the Sacramento Kings up 22 in the 4th quarter and blowing that game. Take him off the board. Don't even give him odds anymore because that's a travesty. That's the second bad loss they had in a week. I'm done with them. But for Phoenix, it's more than D-Book being out. It's having a guy like a Josh Okogie who's kind of their junkyard dog. Their I guess their Jared Vanderbilt, if you will, against a Nuggets team that is Kevin. It's like they got towards the end of the season. They're like, all right, I think it's time for us to start going now and start playing. So I think the Suns are going to struggle with that altitude. They're going to just try and bide time until D-Book comes back, which is, according to Shams, probably next week. Big week here we do have for Denver because they have this game tonight. Then they have Boston at home on Thursday. So 2 big games where Denver, if they win these 2, you're going to start to see their odds start to shrink a little bit and come closer to Boston. But I think Phoenix is going to be fine. I just think they got to get in. They do have the toughest schedule the rest of the way. But I think they're going to just try and tread water until D-Book comes back probably late next week.
I do not feel as safe as you. I made an updated win total bet. It's a loss. It's okay. It happens. It happens. They've lost multiple games to the Rockets, and Devin Booker got injured immediately. Look, usually when you pull up the strength of schedule, right? I don't know what folks you like to use the Tankathon, the strength of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And you let a couple games pass and things will look much different, right? And, the Orlando Magic, right, they have the easiest schedule by like a lot. Now they have the 3rd easiest schedule, and it's, a lot closer, right, with everybody. Phoenix still has, by far, the most difficult schedule left in this
Not
league.
even close.
And Kevin Durant has only missed 7 games. I am not in any capacity wishing injury, but I'm just being honest. He usually misses about 20, give or take. If I told you KD missed 15 games on a year, Phoenix would probably sign up for that. That would be 8 more. Devin's about to miss a couple more. Here's the next 5 games. At Denver, home against Toronto, home against Boston, at Cleveland, at Boston. That team, in the 5-game window, forget about what their record's going to be. They're going to be catching 7 or more in 4 out of the 5 games. I mean, they're going to be catching about 12 from Boston with the way that team's playing. They're going to be catching about 9 from them at home. Again, with the way things have been going with the Boston Celtics. I'm concerned because here's the other wrinkle. And I think JY has some time today. And if not, well, now he does. I need him to stick around. Okay? Here's the deal. The Lakers and the Warriors, I know what happened to Golden State over the weekend, but still as a whole, are playing much better basketball. And they're in the 9-10. If Phoenix is in the 9-10, because they won't fall out of the play-in, I know you're going to say, well, don't worry. Don't worry. Durant, Booker, Beal, single-game elimination. You don't know that one of them's not going to be out for that game. Be right back. It's Game Time Decisions. We're making it happen. It's a Tuesday night.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
4.22. The fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Back with you here, it's Game Time Decisions. I've asked Coach to stick around for just a few more moments before we get to the top of our hour. Talking about the Suns, talking about the Lakers, talking about the Warriors. And I didn't bring JY back to talk about either of those teams. I didn't bring JY back to talk about a sizzle pick. No. You know, JY mentioned getting rid of the Sacramento Kings because they had 2 bad losses in a week. You know, it reminds me of another team in the Western Conference that had 2 bad losses in a week. 2 fourth-quarter collapses. And that would be Coach's Los Angeles Clippers. So I figured, JY, we just check in on your current vibe around the LA Clippers, who last night I think got outscored by Bobby Portis and Damian Lillard in the fourth quarter.
It was a tough scene. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I did take the Bucks minus some points. I felt better than. If I got listen, folks, if I got to see Pat Bev and Bobby Portis celebrate the way they did, it made me sick, even though I won money. So, is there concern with the Clippers? No, I'm crazy.
Oh.
I still got love for the Clippers because they're gonna be a top 4 seed, right? If it breaks right, it's gonna be the Pelicans. Fly Pelican, pick off the Pelicans. Then they got to go against Minnesota. If Minnesota gets out of the first round, which they may not, depending on who they play, and here come the Lakers. And then Western Conference Finals. Clippers. Nuggets. Healthy Kawhi.
Yeah,
PG-13.
right. Healthy Kawhi in the conference finals. What, he missed the first 2 rounds?
I almost bought it. Hell yeah, I'm concerned about the Clippers. They need Russ to come back. Bring the baby back. Please bring Russ back. Please bring Russ back. Here they go.
Need Russ to come back.
They're falling.
Russell.
They're falling.
Hey, Russell Wilson's available if they want him. Thanks, Coach. We'll be right back in less than a minute. right, we're locked in, folks. It is a Tuesday night right here on SportsGrid. It is Game Time Decisions. What did I bet that begins at 7? Zach Edey, 14.5 rebounds plus assists, get in the mix. All right, he's been dominant on that number, hit it in 7 of 8. And I like the matchup tonight against the Illini. He had 15 rebounds in the early season meeting against that team. Laid 15.5 with North Carolina. CLV Crown goes on that wager. Notre Dame outright. Could be they've won 4 out of 5, but I think their value a little overinflated here. So we are going to sell the Irish, although also go Irish. And then we got the Alabama team total 87.5. All about the Crimson Tide tonight and their offense bouncing back. I don't know if the defense will as a road dog here against the Florida Gators, but I think their offense will bounce back. And I like Stetson laying 5.5 here against Queens University. Stetson is at home playing a Queens team that already beat them at home. You might hear that and be like, what is this kid saying? That is the point. Queens won 2 road games all year long. They are not going to beat Stetson, the 2nd seed in the A-Sun, twice in the same year at home. Not happening. No sirree Bob. So we're on Stetson. And then NBA-wise, what do we got here? Do we have anything starting off with the 7 o'clock show? Let's take a look. What time do all these games tip, man? 7:30. All good. We got time. We got time. Time on the NBA board. A lot of time right here on Game Time Decisions. We do also have the Horizon outright pick, which I want to just take a second to talk about. I don't know if books are still open at 7 because some of these Horizon games are about to begin. But I'm on Oakland at plus 300. I mentioned being on JMU, plus 135. James Madison is not playing today, so you will be able to get involved with that wager tomorrow when these open up. The number probably will drop, which is a funny thing with conference tournaments and the way those numbers do move for teams that aren't even in action. But again, that's just sometimes how the cookie crumbles. As we bring our radio audience into the fold, Sirius XM, Channel 159 with you here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh. It's Game Time Decisions. And then, of course, we've got Lipscomb in the A-Sun. But as far as the Horizon goes, I thought the Oakland price at plus 300 here was absolutely worth a piece. So they are the top seed in this conference. Now, they are not the best team in the conference. If you look at KenPom, that would be Youngstown State. Oakland would be second. There's been a lot of action on Wright State that pushed them in front of Oakland on some books, including the FanDuel Sportsbook. But if you look at it, it is somewhat simple here for the Golden Grizzlies. As the top seed, they will be playing a home game in the quarterfinals. And if they're able to win that game, which they will be a sizable favorite in, then they are going to go to the semifinals. Now, the semis are played at a neutral site. But again, Oakland, and this happens with some of these lower seeds, right? The top seeds get rewarded, and Oakland is one of them. They are 1 home win away from the semis. And they reseed due to the traveling nature of it all in the Horizon. So Oakland in the semis will get the worst remaining team. That's a huge win. You would expect, right? Could all of a sudden be like, whoa, this team is better. I doubt it, but it could happen. But I like that. Oakland's going to get the worst team remaining. So I like their chances there. They're going to be a decent favorite. And the only team that could possibly be favored over Oakland is Youngstown, who they swept this year. I understand it's hard to beat a team 3 times, but you're basically looking at this Oakland team as the number 1 seed, who only has 1 team that would be booked to beat them. They're the 3rd choice here. And the 1 team that would be booked to beat them, it would be like a 2-point spread, and Oakland swept them. At plus 300, I think it is great value in the Horizon. We can talk some more college basketball futures in a moment, but I want to throw it over to our guy, Davis Maddock. As always, hooks us up with some SGPs here, and he does it once again on Game Time Decisions. Here's Davis Maddock.
All right, guys, we have got another same game parlay in the NBA over on the FanDuel Sportsbook tonight. We have the Atlanta Hawks traveling to play at the New York Knicks. Very low total for this one. We are actually going to take the Hawks on the road plus 3.5 points. Either number I think is fine there. The Knicks are playing the super thin rotation. Jalen Brunson landed awkwardly on his knee the other night. I don't care if he plays or if he doesn't play. I don't expect him to be at full effectiveness. The Knicks are just really banged up right now, and I actually sort of believe that the Hawks are going to find a decent little rhythm without Trae Young in the lineup. They're playing these really big all-wing lineups with DeJounte Murray being the shortest player out there on the court. I think that should probably reasonably help their defense. So we are going to take the Hawks plus 3.5. We are, however, going to take the over on 216.5, mostly because I don't think that the Knicks defense can handle that all-wing lineup for the Hawks the same way, especially with Brunson maybe banged up. And we are also going to take Dejounte Murray to score 30 or more points, running a ton of pick and rolls, really handling that offense well, I think, without Trae Young. And this 3-leg same-game parlay is going to give us plus 857 odds. Hawks plus 3.5, over 216.5, and Dejounte Murray to score 30 or more points. Good luck tonight, everybody.
All right, great stuff there from Davis Maddock, hooking us up with a little SGP action. We are going to talk some NFL news in a couple of moments here, but I do just want to quickly update people on some college basketball futures that I did place on Monday. I was off yesterday. It was my mother's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. It was a good one. It was a fun one. But did not mean that it was a full day off because we had to get in the lab and look at some college futures. And we did tweet these out. But I think actually one of them might have moved back a touch, so you can actually get some value on these, which is totally fine. But it's North Carolina, and it is BYU to make the Final Four. I've been talking a lot about the Final Four last week and certainly over the weekend on GameTime Decisions, which, by the way, was a ton of fun. Appreciate everybody that showed up and watched. Everybody behind the scenes who helped us get the job done over the weekend. And that'll continue, certainly, throughout March, and we'll only really be up in our game with the weekend action here as we get closer to the NCAA tournament and what have you. But for those that were with us preseason, there are 4 college basketball national title futures on the board. Gonzaga, Alabama, Auburn, and Wisconsin. Those are all preseason tickets. All but Gonzaga is at a better price than they're currently available at. And I'm very happy with those. And due to how pleased I am with those, and all 4 of those teams will be in the tournament, I've been uncertain as to how else I really want to attack the market, right? And typically I like to wait for the bracket to be unveiled. We had a good conversation last week with Dave Sharapan, who'll be here tonight, about the value in the Final Four market prior to the bracket being unveiled. And North Carolina is, for me, the epitome of that. There are some brackets, not a ton. You know, there's odds for the number 1 seed, and right now you actually can find UNC booked at 65-1 to have a number 1 seed. I understand it is unlikely, but it doesn't mean it is impossible. And that plus 480 number would be under 2-1 before UNC ever plays a game, if that happens. But I'm okay if they stay as a 2 seed, because North Carolina, they check every damn box. Do they have a star guard, a veteran guard? Yep, that's R.J. Davis. Do they have experience? Armando Bacot, we mentioned this, has been there for a long time. A long time. And their head coach in Hubert Davis, in one NCAA tournament appearance, made the national championship. Okay? And he was coming from the 8-9 game. They had to knock off the defending champ Baylor Bears. So we got that box all checked. North Carolina at plus 480 is a favorite number of mine. To see Duke in front of them is really, really surprising, and I'm glad to get involved with that number where I did. Also, BYU was at 16-1. Look, BYU with that win over Kansas moved a lot in terms of expected seeding. Could be on that 4-5 line and a top 16 team in college basketball. Ken Palm agrees. Let's get some BYU on the board. Talk a little NFL next here. It's Game Time Decisions.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
4.22. The fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you here on SportsGrid, and while the action is now live, I think it is a good time for us to talk a little football, because we are getting to that time again where the NFL has a chance to dominate some of the headlines here with our offseason news. And they did yesterday with the news that Russell Wilson will be released by the Denver Broncos. And we have odds for Russell Wilson's next team, with the favorite still being the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's fine. But at minus 200, I find it a bit surprising. You know, it reads to me like the market is just completely unaware of where this guy is actually going to land. And, you know, if you take a look at the market below that, Raiders plus 275, Falcons plus 475, and then you start to, you know, open it up, 8-1, 9 plus 950, 18-1, a lot of bigger numbers. And you can see those right there. The Antonio Pierce going from Garoppolo to Russell Wilson, is that something that you think Antonio Pierce is going to bank his potentially one opportunity on? No, if it's a mess this year in Vegas, I know we expect him to get another season. Nothing's a certainty. And even if he isn't fired at the end of the year, Antonio Pierce, and this is if things went poorly, is he going to get it more than 2 years? I don't think Antonio Pierce is going to be hot on Russ. The Falcons are the third choice. There are books offering this team minus 400 to be the next team for Justin Fields. So it's hard to see that. Minnesota Vikings could certainly be losing Kirk Cousins. That's important. That's huge news. We can dive into that a little bit as we get closer. But, again, is Kevin O'Connell going to look that direction as opposed to attempting to draft a quarterback with the 11th overall pick? I mean, odds are you'll have J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix Jr., or Bo Nix all on the board. And this is a team that, you know, we had reports last year trying to trade up to the number one overall spot. And Chicago, Washington, and New England will listen. Now, Chicago and Minnesota aren't going to trade, obviously, but could Washington or New England be willing to trade out of the 2-3? They might. Minnesota give you up a lot to come get Drake May or Jaden Daniels, right? So that removes Minnesota. You take a look here, all of a sudden now we're talking, you know, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 18-1. They're paying Baker. Stop. Tennessee Titans 30-1. What timeline are we on? Tennessee Titans are bringing Russell Wilson. What is going on here?
Giants, I'd listen to that. I'd listen to the Giants. I would. For me, and the reporting is going to have to match the concept. We're not there yet. There's still value in this market, though, because I don't think it is Pittsburgh. But I like the idea of Russell Wilson sitting in front of a first-round draft pick.
Sitting a rookie is not a guaranteed thing into creating a superstar. But so far, the hit rate is pretty damn spectacular. I mean, it is. Mahomes sat a whole year, save one game. Jordan Love sat about 15 seasons in Green Bay. And now he might enter next season as the best quarterback in the NFC. You think that's crazy? Make a list of the best quarterbacks. See where you rank Jordan Love. I wouldn't have him one, but he's inside that top 5 comfortably. We know what happened with Rodgers. Now, some people have, because I've been telling people I would just sit, I would sit if I drafted a quarterback in round 1 for a full year. What about C.J. Stroud? What about C.J. Stroud? C.J. Stroud's amazing. I'm not telling you that if I sit a guy in year 1, we might miss out on a year, but that's okay. We can miss out on a year. The contract is cheap enough. The situation is good enough. And if I'm going to sit Drake May or Jaden Daniels or J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix or Michael Penix, whomever you want, I'm being realistic. Caleb's not sitting. They're not going to sit Caleb. We know this. Chicago fans will riot if he's not starting week number 1. All right? That's just the reality. I'm putting Russell Wilson in front of him. I get a chance for a guy who's absolutely been there. At moments looked like he was on track for a Hall of Fame career. Probably doesn't get there now, but you never know. I get Russell Wilson in front of him. I love that. Drake May, drafted by the New England Patriots, with Russ in front of him. That organization, I like that a lot. I do. That's plus 800. The Commanders, let Jaden Daniels sit behind a guy like Russell Wilson, 20-1. Sure, works for me. It does. It really, really does. Yeah, the Bears are starting Caleb. I don't know if Russ is going to want to be a backup. I think Russ should have a starting opportunity. And I'm not, and that's, forget debating whether or not he's earned it, deserves it. That's not the point. I just think Russ will get an opportunity to be a starting quarterback in the league, and I think the best opportunity for him will be in front of one of these first-round picks. And by the way, with these picks, we are seeing the odds and the markets all start to increase. Right now, we'll use the FanDuel Sportsbook for people. Number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, minus 2,000. All right. We know that's going to be the case. Look, it doesn't matter. You have to remember we're betting. It's based on what's going to happen, not what you would do. I don't care what you think of Jaden Daniels, the prospect. I don't care what you think of Drake May, the prospect. I don't really care what you think of Marvin Harrison Jr., the prospect. Caleb's going 1. And that's been the case since last year. Because Caleb would have went 1 last year. That's just the reality of it. Drake May, minus 135 to go 2. Jaden Daniels is plus 125. And in fact, it's Caleb actually with the third best odds there at 15-1. That's wasteful. J.J. McCarthy with the 4th best odds at 20-1. And then it's Harrison Jr. at 25-1. So clearly and understandably, a quarterback is projected to go 2nd overall, and that makes a lot of sense. Same story with the 3rd pick. Jaden Daniels plus 175. Drake May is plus 175 as well. But Marvin Harrison Jr. getting a bit more respect in that market at plus 310. They believe he could be a challenger. What's interesting to me, and let's just say we go chalk 1-2, all right? And we go Caleb off the board at 1 to the Bears, and Drake May off the board at 2 to the Commanders, and the New England Patriots, who are reportedly considering trading back. Is Arizona, who's not looking quarterback, wanting to go up 1 spot to make sure they bring in Marvin Harrison Jr.? Are the LA Chargers so in on Brock Bowers they go up 2 spots to draft him or Marvin Harrison Jr.? Possibly. It is absolutely possible that that's the scenario. The books are also prepared for the scenario that somebody likes J.J. McCarthy more than Jaden Daniels at plus 750. 4th overall picks have dropped. Marvin Harrison Jr. Is a minus 230 favorite to go there. With Malik Neighbors as a second option at plus 850, I have to tell you, I'm not all too interested in this market at the moment because, or at least in that direction, because I'll tell you this right now, okay? Malik Neighbors is not going in front of Marvin Harrison Jr. In the same way, no quarterback's going in front of Caleb, no quarterback's going in front of Marvin Harrison Jr. I'd rather bet money on Dallas Turner, right? Fashanu, Joe Alt, Jared Verse, Latu, if you want to go that, I don't care. Buck the trend, offensive line, defense. And I don't hate it, Joe Alt, 22-1. Because I think it is way more realistic that the Cardinals take Joe Alt and Malik Neighbors, right? But what they're set up for a little bit is if Marvin went third, how does the rest of the board fall? And then at 5-1, plus 340 Joe Alt, plus 380 Malik Neighbors, plus 550 Brock Bowers. So you can tell there is a lot of interesting numbers in the board. I will just quickly mention Brock Bowers being plus 550 to go fifth. Team to draft Brock Bowers, the Chargers with the fifth pick are plus 310. Could argue some value. The Chargers could trade back, but it's certainly something for us to keep our eyes on. I know I was going to talk a little bit more about Saquon Barkley. I will just say this, okay? I've made myself a little running back list. We'll expand on this when the time is right, okay? But here are a few teams to watch with the running backs in the AFC. The Ravens, we know it. The Texans, we know it. I think the Broncos could be sneaky depending on the prices. And the New England Patriots are going to have a boatload of money. And if they have any interest in starting their first-round quarterback, then they might want to pair him with a player like Saquon Barkley. Bears, same exact situation. Packers might be releasing Aaron Jones. Wouldn't be surprised. Minnesota Vikings could be in a situation with Kirk Cousins off the book. And the sleeper situation, Eagles and Cowboys. GMs and ownership are a little bit crazy. Just keep your eyeballs on those teams. Joe Madden joins us next to break down the NHL slate.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you here. It is Game Time Decisions, and helping us break down the NHL, as always, Joe Madden. Joe, how are you? It is a packed Tuesday night of action.
Yeah, it's a fantastic night of action. We got the Florida Panthers off to a hot start, leading that one 2-0. That fired coach mentality thought of people isn't coming in for the New Jersey Devils tonight. Florida is just way too hot.
Yeah, and the Devils, it's not going well. And sometimes the idea of firing the coach is going to fix it all is a bit flawed, and it certainly is in that spot. But let's hit the ground running here, Joe, because I was tempted to make a pride bet on the Edmonton Oilers, little revenge against the Boston Bruins, and I thought wiser of it. I stepped back from this game, but it is a big one on tonight's ice, and I'm curious, what do you think of this game between Edmonton and Boston?
Well, I wouldn't have blamed you if you took the Edmonton Oilers here because it is a nice revenge spot for them. You also look at these two teams, and the road team has won the last 7, with Edmonton winning those last 3, rolling into Boston. So I could see them being able to get the win. My problem here with taking Edmonton in this one, Kevin, is the price on Edmonton. Boston is a home dog. You really got to look at the value you're getting there. They're an absolutely fantastic team, but they're coming off the second night of a back-to-back, playing Toronto last night in a hard battle. Now they won that nicely 4-1, except that's a huge rivalry. So I could see Edmonton rolling in here. I just don't want to lay -135 on Edmonton on the road, especially in Boston. So I looked at the first period, and even in lower scoring games, for the final score between these two teams have gone over the 1.5 in the first period. And I think there's value looking at the over 1.5 in the first period here. It's coming in right around that -128 mark. And then I'm going to circle Connor McDavid. I think Connor McDavid is due to get a couple points in this game versus Boston. He knows he has to play his heart out. So taking him for the 2+ points, getting slight plus money at +102. You could also go and look at Pasternak there for the Boston Bruins. I don't hate that either. I think both of those players play strong tonight, Kevin.
All right, there you go. A couple of looks at a big game, including a bet on the NHL's best player, who did pay the people over the weekend with 2+ points against Sid the Kid and the Pittsburgh Penguins, which is something that Joe and I did talk a bit about. Joe, coming up as well as this game between the Isles and the St. Louis Blues. The Isles are almost a -200 moneyline favorite here. Total booked right now at 5.5. What are you looking for in this game?
Yeah, it's pricey here for the Islanders, but I understand why. This team looking to get revenge as well. As the last time they faced the St. Louis Blues, the Blues got that shutout 4-0 win over them. With Sorokin in goal tonight, I do have a lot of faith in the Islanders. I'm going to look at them here in regulation. Betting them in regulation or 60 minutes, as some books say, brings that price down to -120, Kevin, and that's within my range. I do think, though, those shots are still coming in on Sorokin by the St. Louis Blues in this one tonight. You look at his save shots on goal prop, it's low. It's coming in at 25.5. Definitely think he goes over this. Even though Patrick was trying to tighten up this defense, they're still allowing their goaltenders to be absolutely peppered out there. So the over 25.5 is coming in at -125. Even though St. Louis has had some periods where they've been completely limited out there on their shots, I do think they get enough shots in this one for Sorokin to be able to go over that number of 25.5. It's just so low that it's almost scary, but you are having to lay the juice at -125, Kevin.
But listen, again, it makes it so funny, those regulation bets, because I've seen it, play out for a few people, and you eliminate that juice. But if that game does get to overtime, it is very, very frustrating. You start to root against that team quite a bit. Like, listen, you better not win this thing outside of regulation. We will see how it plays out, Joe, though, with the Isles. Let's keep it moving here a little bit, though. We've got the Predators booked over -200 at home against the Montreal Canadiens. A 6.5 total for this game. How are you looking to bet this one?
Okay, we know the Nashville Predators have been rolling extremely hot as of late, winning their last 8. So I was looking at a couple different ways to take this one. I ended up going with the Nashville Predators team total over 3.5. We're getting that. We are going to have to lay some juice at -122, and I'm finding most of the bets tonight we are laying juice with. But you look at this team in these last 8 wins, they've nicely gone over this number of 3.5, hitting 4 or more goals in all of those. You could also take it another another way and look at the Montreal Canadiens taking their team total under 2.5. I just don't trust it as much, but I do think they struggle to score here on Saros. We look at the Predators, their ability to score on Jake Allen should be there. Jake Allen hasn't been strong in goal for Montreal. He's got a 3.69 goals against average and an 8.92 save percentage. I just think with how strong this team has been playing, they should be able to find the back of the net. I wouldn't be shocked if they got 2 goals in that first period. I'd look at Forsberg for the anytime goal, his points, Ryan O'Reilly. This team is loaded with playmakers, and they're just rolling so hot. It's hard to see them not getting 4 goals here at home, Kevin. So that's the way I have to go with this one.
All right, little team total action there for the people. And another team total, Joe, that you're on tonight comes in this game between Winnipeg and Seattle. Right now, Winnipeg at home, better than minus 160 on the money line. The total for the game is 5.5. Whose team total are you playing in this one?
Ooh, I hate to do it after what we saw out of the Seattle Kraken last night, but I have to take their team total to the under 2.5 in this one because I just see them struggling to score. Now, you are going to have to lay juice again at minus 128, but you look at the Winnipeg Jets and how strong this defense is, their ability to kill those power plays of their opponents. I think they're going to come in strong into this game at home. Connor Hellebuck will be in net as well. And you look at Connor Hellebuck's numbers, he's so strong, 2.25 goals against average and a 9.24 save percentage. I expect the Kraken with tired legs tonight after getting that big win versus Calgary last night to really struggle here against a Winnipeg Jets team that just brings everything they've got. This team has been playing some elite level hockey. I like what they have on both sides of the puck. And while I do like them for the win, I just couldn't find value in that win unless you look at that puck line cover. And I could see them getting the puck line cover tonight. But no matter what happens, I really do think the Kraken stay under that total of 2.5, Kevin.
Yeah, 5.5 spot there. So again, as you said, it's expected to be low scoring, but certainly for a reason. Joey, good one on this board tonight here. Well, I say a good one. The Dallas Stars, the San Jose Sharks. I just always think it's interesting when you see that size of a favorite, right? Minus 430 on the road. I know the Sharks are bad. Are the Stars that good? It's debatable. Is this a game that you can find any value in with a road favorite? It's so big.
Oh, I hate taking a road favorite this big, especially when you look at the last time these two teams played on Saturday night. And the Sharks held the lead for so long in that matchup versus the Dallas Stars. And then they stayed competitive versus the Minnesota Wild in their last game out as well. So could I see the Sharks pulling off this upset? Absolutely. Do I want to put my money on the Sharks and trust them here even at home? There is no way. But in that case, I don't want to take the Dallas Stars either. There's just not enough value. What I'm going to do is look at a player prop here. Jason Robinson has been so solid for the Dallas Stars. I think no matter what happens in this game, he gets on the scoreboard. You can look at him for the anytime goal. It's coming in at plus 155 for Jason Robinson. You could also look at like Rupe Hintz as well. He's coming in at plus 170. But I do think this is a lower scoring game. It should be staying under that total, but Jason Robinson should get on the board here on Kokkonen, the goaltender for the San Jose Sharks, Kevin.
All right, Joe. And then the last game of the night is in LA, and it is a pure pick'em. You know, you don't get this a lot. Usually you get like a minus 112, minus one. I mean, it's straight minus 110 either side. Canucks, Kings. Who you going with?
I'm going with the LA Kings here. I know the Vancouver Canucks will look to get revenge here after the Kings won the last matchup, but the Kings on their home ice with Cam Talbot and net, I cannot go against. Cam Talbot, kind of like what we've seen out of Igor Shesterkin, where both of these goaltenders have had phenomenal Februaries after pretty rough Januaries. We look at Cam Talbot, his overall numbers on the season, he's got a 2.46 goals against average and a 9.16 save percentage. Looking at his last 2 games, he saved 53 of 55 shots on him. And in that month of February, he had a 1.86 goals against average and a 9.38 save percentage. I can't say the same thing about Demko. Demko has been struggling in net for the Vancouver Canucks. There's trade talks happening. We know they acquired Vancouver Elias Lindholm from the Calgary Flames. We're kind of like hearing that he might be off to Boston in another trade here. So I think there's a couple of uncertain questions around this team tonight where where I don't want to put my money there. And I think the LA Kings, with how strong they do play at home, have every opportunity of getting the wins. So I'm not going to take Cam Talbot for his safe shots on goal, because we look at the LA Kings, they really limit their opponent's ability to get those shots. He will have that protection from his defense in this one, but I think the Kings can come out and get the win. Pick him at home. Sign me up all day here, Kevin.
All right, there you go. A little minus 110 action quickly, Joe. The live board right now. The Devils did grab one back. It's 2-1. Pittsburgh is a minus 500 live favorite over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Was there anything that you were looking for particularly in either of those two games?
Yeah, so the Florida Panthers and the New Jersey Devils, I just looked at the over 1.5 in the first period, as well as that goal in the first 5 minutes. So those nicely came in. I would stay off the rest of the game, expecting that one to go over the total, but right now you have to take it to the over 8.5 at minus 106. So it still could get there. I just don't love it. Looking at the Columbus Blue Jackets, I do think we have a live dog here on the road. Grabbing them plus the 2.5 is minus 136. I expected a lot out of the goaltender who was brought up from the AHL, Graves, here, expecting him to go over his save shots tonight, but I love them plus 2.5 at minus 136 live. I grabbed them plus the 1.5 earlier.
Fantastic. As always, that is Joe Madden helping us with tonight's NHL board. Up next, Consig himself, Dave Sarapan, in the mix. SportsGrid.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, we're making it happen here on a Tuesday night. It's flying by now. I'm Kevin Walsh with you. We're on SportsGrid, and joining us is Dave Sharapan. Consig, you look good. You look real good, in fact, with the Tar Heel baby blue on. The question, though,
yes, sir,
is why? Why Tar Heel baby blue on a Tuesday?
I went to North Carolina over the weekend. I got one of everything. Okay. I spent more in the merch shop, the Tar Heels merch shop, between Parker, Yaya, and Katie. They said, "Is there anything else you don't want, Dave?" And I said, "No, I'm good. Just make sure you watch the show on SportsGrid every day." So little shout out to them. They said they would watch. The game itself, K-Dub, 16? 16?
Mm-hmm.
You can't. I mean, this is a look-ahead spot, right? This is every book in the world's going to need the Irish to, keep it close. They're not going to lose this
Are
game.
they, though? But see, I don't know. Is it a look ahead? Or
I don't know.
Do the books need the Irish?
I don't think it's a play. What this number tells me and what I've seen from all the years in the book is that people just won't play this. You put a number high enough, you keep them off. And that's what happens. You might play it in game, but you don't play it pre-game.
Can we possibly take the monitor here to my left just to show Consig? I don't know how doable that is.
What do we got?
But today's quick pick, Dave, is brought to you by the North Carolina Tar Heels at minus 15.5.
Hello.
Because there it is. Oh, there it is.
That.
Oh, there it is.
That's nice work.
And it's not just a little Tar Heels minus 15.5, but a future bet was placed. You and I talked about this last week about the Final Four market and finding some value. I mean, North Carolina plus 480
how about
is how
that?
We find some value. So we're Tar Heeled up over here on Game Time Decisions.
I'm all in. I saw the game in the Dean Dome, first time ever, 21,750. There was a miracle, a guy standing outside with a paper ticket. You know, I like to deal with cash and paper tickets. And in today's world, I'm a dinosaur, but by some act of whomever, the guy was standing there. I got in. I sat 7 rows from the court. I was in the Tar Heel Club with all the Blue Bloods. I'm all in. I'm all in with the Carolina. I liked them before, but seeing them up close, seeing the guard play, I like what we're working with. I like a lot.
Yeah.
It's good. Plus 480?
And
that's good.
Yeah. I will say this as well, and I've been mentioning this. So they are, I think, 65-1 to grab a 1 seed. Long shot. Super long shot. But I would say there is some value on that number, for the record. There are some bracketologists who have them on the 1 line right now. It's possible. And I will say this. Arizona could be upset in that Pac-12 tournament. And I don't think Tennessee is going to win the SEC tournament. I don't. They've been great.
Okay.
I think it's too much.
Okay.
So, if North Carolina can beat Duke twice, I know we're talking about a lot. But here's what Dave will agree with. UNC gets a 1 seed. They're shorter than 2-1 to make the Final Four.
Oh, baby. Big favorites in game 1, semi-big favorites in game 2. And we're getting to, we're into the Sweet 16, working with a nice number. That I like the sounds of all this. They got to beat Duke Saturday, though, and then win the ACC tournament, I think, to make this one dream come alive. Like, if they lose at Duke and then win the ACC tournament, they need somebody to get upset, whether it's Arizona. I like your thinking with Tennessee. Listen, I'm not sold on Purdue. They could lose. They're going to lose tonight to Illinois. I think so. And they could lose in a Big Ten tournament to Illinois. Why not?
Yeah, look, and I don't think Purdue, Houston, and UConn are going to be moved off the 1 line, and that's fine. Purdue was a 1 seed last year. That's fine. I'm good on them. That's just the reality of that, okay? I'm good. Let me ask you this, Consig. Conference tournaments are started yesterday. We got 3 more introduced tonight, so we're up to 4 in action. And by tomorrow, I think we're bringing in 3 or 4 more new ones.
Yep.
What is it like in the room getting set for these tournaments, pricing the games, pricing the futures? Because let's be honest, Army Holy Cross today, Patriot League, at 6 o'clock, had more action on a Patriot League game than any Patriot League game all season long, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes and no. The big games and the big conferences still draw more handle than the early matchups in the conference tournaments during the week. But as they get closer to the end, then you start to see a little more action starting like Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. Like Bobby Moe and IPFW today, I mean, there's probably less than 10 bets on the game most of the time in the Horizon League. Not that that's not a good game, but it's 11-point spread, 16 and a half the other game. Those are not good games.
That's 10 more Horizon League bets than you were taking on a normal day, no?
Well, you'd be surprised. Sometimes those are the ones that the snipers and the razor blades love those games. Those games sometimes get a little more handle than you expect when you post up the wrong number. Making the numbers for these games is easy because they already played.
Yeah.
This is, you just take the neutral site. You know, some of these actually teams are at home, which highly recommend to people check which tournaments are being played on the home court of some teams because they're not all neutrals. But yeah, it's not, they get bypassed a lot for the big games in the big teams. Although this Queens, North Carolina at Stetson game has me interested after Queens, North Carolina did some work already. So that's one you got to keep an eye on too. Yeah.
Mon Stetson on the Hatters at home.
That's the Hatters?
That's the Hatters. I like this Stetson team in this specific spot. We'll see. Queens has won 2 road games all year long. One of them was at Stetson. They're not going to double them up. Stetson should be extra focused here, knowing this team's already won in our building. And they just came off playing a game in our building and winning that game. You know, Queens has more wins inside Stetson than they have in any other gym outside of their home court this year. I mean, they like playing at this Stetson. 2-point game at the break. Not good. We laid 5.5. They were up 9 just a minute ago. That's bad momentum.
These things change quickly.
What happened here?
Jacksonville, the Dolphins. Got to be careful with them too. Big number pregame against Eastern Kentucky. That one's a little bit close too right now. Watch
1-point game.
One of 2 things to happen. Eastern Kentucky to come out, gain a big lead, and Jacksonville get inside the number. Or Jacksonville to start fast and act in this game, keep the momentum from yesterday's win, and win again tonight.
If Jacksonville wins, Eastern Kentucky was the favorite heading into the ASUN tournament. And you're going to see, and by the way, I mean, Stetson's in a battle right now. I did take the Lipscomb number. They're going to go minus. They're going to go minus if they advance today. If the 1 and the 2 are bounced, they're going minus to Lipscomb.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely 100% right. I like this. When we talk these things out, you start to see the way the number's going to go. Well said. 40-34, Illinois at the half. Are we on Illinois or Purdue? Please tell me Illinois, please.
I got a Zach 80 rebound plus assist prop. The points are obviously going wild. He's got 18 of those. He's had some lackluster offensive scoring games relatively. The 24.5 was expensive. So it's not that I didn't think he could get there. I initially looked at it towards the over. I just didn't want to pay that premium. No assists. He's doing all the scoring right now, which is what it is. I'm not worried about it. I just want to add this quickly. If the results hold and Holy Cross up double digits with a minute left, Coastal's up 7 with 2 left, we will be 4 for 4 on dogs outright in conference tournament action. We'll be 4 for 4. Outright.
Welcome to the madness.
We haven't had a favorite. We haven't had a favorite win yet. Yeah.
This is what happens.
Yeah.
This is what happens this week. But then you got to be cautionary next week because the favorites win a lot of times in the bigger conference early games. Favorites win and then run out of gas 2 games, 3 games. I mean, the one tournament, I think it's either the SEC or the Big East. They got to win 5 games to win the tournament, the teams that start at the beginning. They got no shot. I don't know if you've seen the bracket for the West Coast Conference Tournament. It's going to be here. I'll be at multiple games there, St. Mary's and Gonzaga. See your Zags. They can't. They're loaded up for the favorites to win. So be crazy if one of these teams takes the Atlantic Sun bid away from the favorite. But I'm rooting for your Lipscomb. Let's go Lipscomb.
Yeah, no, I feel good about the Lipscomb. We're on Lipscomb, Oakland, and JMU. Couldn't get there with the Patriot League's Colgate number. Strong.
This is your time.
It's strong.
This is your time. March is your time. You start to get involved and see things. It's not for the faint of heart. I mean, you can't recommend teams like that to people. They don't understand. They got to watch the show. They got to pay attention. It's there. Those things are there. They actually get you to the winter.
Yeah, they do. By the way, UNC is up 16. So as someone who laid 15.5, we have UNC, what's that, plus a half? Right, would that be in the second half? Oh, that's going to be annoying if they don't cover this game. Oh, that'll be annoying.
It's going to be right around a number. That's all right. We get a blowout, win by 22, cruise to a nice, easy win.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
This Bama game, and I know you're on In-Game Live tonight, of course.
Yep.
The total's popping back. They're finding the rhythm out of nowhere. Oh, they both found the rhythm out of nowhere. Now, Bama's getting 8.5. Oh, Consig.
What?
This is a route? This isn't a route. Is this a route? No, this isn't a route.
Listen, Bama on the road is not Bama at home. You saw that number pregame. Talked about it. Yeah, they're just not that. I don't know. A route is what? More than 8? Yeah, it could be more than 8. No?
Down to 7.5.
Back on pace. 171 and a half in-game total.
44
to what? 35. Let's go. This might be a route, K-Dub.
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know.
Come on. Yeah.
I think
I'm good with
Bama's
that.
1 of 10 from 3. Bama's 1 of 10
What
from 3.
about the Auburn number on the road at Mizzou? I mean, Mizzou is terrible. 16 in a row they've lost. You're laying a gigantic number on the road. Can that be?
You can. You're allowed to. It's hard to get dialed in. Oh, if you're Auburn for Missouri, but they've been doing it all year. They've been doing it all year. What about this Kansas?
That Kansas number's absurd. Yeah, like in the big dance. Does Auburn have a shot? A lot of people out here are giving me Auburn, but they do this every year. They tell me how good Pearl is, blah, 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 and then they never even get to the Final Four.
Well,
you like them?
Preseason KW was on Auburn, so we better like Auburn. 80.
Okay.
I think it's 80.
That's a good number.
I think it's 80.
That's how we're working.
It's 80. Here's the thing. We got a lot of good numbers. It's going to go bad. Say, we'll talk.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
8 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Athletes in Canada, Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid, no longer can be part of these sports betting ads.
Now, what's interesting is there is technically a carve-out that will still let these athletes and celebrities appear in sportsbook ads, but it's only if those ads are slanted toward responsible gaming. So you could still have a Connor McDavid saying, hey, bet responsibly on TV in Ontario.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
4.22, the fastest man alive.
The guy just made himself a whole lot of money, did he not? By now holding the record for the fastest 40-yard dash. But if it's one thing we know is that doesn't translate into quality football players in the NFL. So somebody will bite and overdraft him because he simply ran faster than everyone else. It's just rinse and repeat.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid. What a 2 hours. I mean, how quick did those go? I assume you were here for all two of them. If you weren't, a little offensive. And just for that, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. That's how it goes. This is the schedule. I was off yesterday. Don't worry about that. We're here usually on Mondays. Plus, the March Madness is going to check in. It's going to be throwing things off. Just know this. We're dialed in with you on weekends. And that's what's important. Saturdays and Sundays. I will be back in the mix right here on a Thursday. But you probably are saying, shut up. What's the best bet? I agree. It's Kevin Durant over 32.5 points plus assists. Kevin Durant has played 11 games without Devin Booker. He has gone over this in 9 of 11. That should be enough to sell you. One of those misses he landed on 32. That probably helps. The other miss was the last game he played. So that means Kevin Durant, before the last time he played without Devin Booker, was 9 out of 10 on this number, with the one loss coming by a half a point. And we get a bounce back KD, who just shot 6 of 15 against OKC in a loss. Was, let's be honest, the big reason why they dropped that basketball game, because Beal had 30 and Nurkic grabbed 30 boards. So now we get him in a step-up spot against the Denver Nuggets. Love it. Absolutely love it. It is Kevin Durant, the best bet tonight, over 32.5 points plus assists. The live action we're following, in case you want to get in on a better number, worse number, whatever you want to do with it. North Carolina minus 15.5. Alabama team total over 87.5. No live player props in college hoops. We do root in the Zach Edey over 14.5 rebounds plus assists. Stetson minus 5.5. And then on the college, what else do we have there? NBA-wise, Buddy Hield's 19.5 points plus assists, as well as Garland's 9.5 rebounds plus assists. I got to tell you, KD's the main thing. But close to it, Lipscomb. Let's make it happen here. Needed at a plus 300 to win the ASUN outright, and it starts tonight. Tomorrow, 3 more conference tournaments enter the fold, and you know SportsGrid will have you covered. I'm Kevin Walsh. In-Game Live is next. Best of luck.